My name is Woodie Landeros.
And I'm Joseph Landeros.
You're listening to the Landeros Brothers, where we talk about...
Communication through art.
I like how it sounds all structured.
Yeah. Roll to the
Well,
intro?
you're supposed to say, just roll the intro.
All right.
Okay, let's do it. Today's topic is Instagram made me do it. Searched on Google, and the first things, I was actually pretty surprised. The first things was Instagram made me do it, and it showed different things of shopping, of anorexia, all these different things that, quote unquote, Instagram made me do it. But what I want to talk about is just the influence that it has when we're communicating art. So how Instagram is changing the art field and how it's really changing the world. It's changing everything. Instagram made me do it.
Let's talk about it. The change over time with, say, the increase of social media usage, I would say since MySpace, has really been this huge leap when it comes down to consumerism and, the different ways that you're able to express yourself these days.
Yeah. Well, just to throw out a stat out there that I got from Martha's Vineyard, she said that in the last, I think she grabbed a stat from somewhere else, but in the last 2 years, we have produced 90% of the world's data. And Instagram has a big portion of that, which is crazy. To think that in the last 2 years, the world's data, I don't know what she's exactly saying by that, but it was just very intriguing to me, and it was just it stopped me. I was listening to the TED Talk that she was doing, and I literally just pulled over, wrote down that note, because I was like, this is crazy. In the last 2 years, insane.
That is really
insane.
And it's all because of a man named Kevin Systrom, who was the American entrepreneur who actually founded Instagram.
It was with two people, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other guy's name again?
Oh, man.
Not sure. I just looked up the founder of Instagram, and I'm not really too sure. The co-founder was actually Mike Krager.
Yeah, Kevin and Mike Krager. And then, it was, because it's right now it's owned by Facebook Incorporated. It was launched in October 2010, and it's just crazy. I want to talk about the photography portion of it because I want to save the video part for a YouTube one. Okay. I really want to do I want to separate it.
All right.
So just kind of in the ground basics of when Instagram came out. And let's talk about the geo tracking. That's really left field, but it's I want to get into the portion of the digital reproduction of art and how a person can take a photograph in an art museum and then that instantly becomes their art on Instagram, and how you feel that thrill of having another person seeing your art, but really it's a photograph of another art. So it's
recycled.
Yeah, it's the reproduction of it.
So actually, we were talking about this, or actually we were watching a video about this, speaking about different landmarks that have increased their rates of visitors coming in. And I think it's pretty fascinating because it really poses the question as to who's to blame in the situation. And as a title, how we started this, Instagram made me do it with this geotagging. It's, encouraged people to come out to different places. I remember going to LACMA for the first time and thinking to myself, man, this is amazing. The full-on experience. They started to have different attraction, different installation art, and it was super intriguing. However, what I've seen over the years now, or over time, at least from my own personal experience, is the increase of these photographs coming from all types of people that I know, and also people going to places I didn't even know existed anymore, or that existed nowadays, such as the Happy Place, which is a new organization. I don't know if you want to speak about that or your experience at the Happy Place.
Yeah, well, just installation art in general has been has had a dramatic increase because of Instagram, and they've we've gotten different popular pop-ups Color Factory, Museum of Ice Cream, The Egg House, Happy Place, Meow Wolf. It's a lot of like color and space and light. It's just playing on like all the little, I would say like the drizzles on the ice cream of Instagram and on the way that we see art. We really want to be now a part of it. I just kind of throw this out there, like it's crazy how the pre-digital photography era was all about, this is what I'm seeing, I am seeing. Like that's how photography was taken. Like I'm seeing this, so then now it's time to snap the photo. And I'm grabbing the same thing from the TED Talk from Martha's Vineyard. But now it's all about, I was there. So it's playing, Instagram is playing with us, and it's really playing against our I guess our fear of missing out, the
Right.
FOMO of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be there. I want to be relevant in this world of social media, and I want to make sure that I have front line and I get that perfect photograph, or that my Instagram feed looks just as cool. So now we have it's making people go to places, which is good. It's making people go to like museums and go to hikes and trails and locations that they would never go to, if Instagram wasn't there, or if the social media but geo-tracking wasn't there.
Right. To speak on that quote that you actually pulled from that TED Talk, or that woman actually used from another individual, it's quite interesting, because when she says that there's 90% of the data being developed, that has been developed over the past 2 years, it kind of poses also another question. I use that phrase a lot, but where is this data coming from? Are we talking about internet data? We're talking about different books, all this information. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, I think it's pretty impressive altogether, and it kind of makes me think of Instagram as being an early on Library of Alexandria, which actually was a library established before, in the ancient times, in Egypt, in Alexandria, Egypt, that actually was burned down by Julius Caesar. And the tale basically tells of this library that was holding all this precious information of different medicines and of different remedies and different things of that nature, that eventually was burned down by this leader. Now, what was gathered there will never be reproduced, because they weren't living at a time that we are living right now. So I think it's pretty impressive to be able to say that 90% of this information is available at our fingertips.
Yeah, well, now we're the writers now. We're the writers, we're the people, we're the individuals that create the textbooks. And the people after us are the ones that read the textbooks and see our facts and our opinions in like the way that the world is. But like what I'm really afraid about, and what I think that all other like museums are afraid about, is like the fact of it is like any reproduction of the image or of the art piece is less than the experience. It's less than the experience. So like it's just a proven fact that when you walk into a museum and you see a piece of art for itself without having that pre-image, like, because so you're on Instagram, you see in your feed, you see a photo of a museum, you're like, cool, I want to get that photo. You go to the museum, you walk up to the piece of art, and then you take that photo. That's like one experience, but they say that it's better like to just go to the museum and see it for the first time, and without taking that photograph, or without just going there so that your feed can look good. You're actually focusing on the art and the artist, as opposed to your photograph, your piece of art that you're going to make.
Right. So say with someone like yourself, who's always trying to become more transparent with your audience on social media, having Woody Landeros, previously known as Woody Gold, having Gold Kills, having
we didn't have to say that.
all right, having Future Life Films, having Rebecca Blue Media, having all these different aliases, so to say. How do you think that you've been influenced by such a shift?
So I don't want to admit it, but I know that I have been influenced. I mean, you have, I have, we all have. It's just the way that our world is right now. I guess I have. I am like it's hard to accept some of this information because I know that it is changing. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, well, like just to add on, like kind of to guide it, like traveling. Let's say traveling, because you just recently went to Costa Rica. You've been to Portland. You know, how has that affected your experience in a personal level?
Okay, so I don't think it has.
No.
I think okay. So I think there's like two different versions in my brain. Like one side, you see the photograph, you want to take that same photograph, so then you do that, that activity or whatever it is for the photograph. I see Instagram as like, I see the photograph, but I see the experience behind it, and then I want to go there and just like experience it. Like when I was in Costa Rica, the best day was when I put down my vlog camera and when I was just experiencing it. And I know that I didn't even see Costa Rica on social media or anything. I was just like, what's the cheapest location to go to? So that's where I'm going to go. And so like when I actually went there, I had to force myself to like vlog, but I didn't really I don't know. We just didn't really do it. And that's why at the end of the trip, I had a GoPro strapped to my chest. And my last vlog was just like, this was Costa Rica. It's crappy quality, and there it is. So I don't know. Like I think I don't know. I feel like I'm self-aware of certain things like that. So like when we went to the Happy Place, which was one of the installation pop-up museums, I was very aware what I was doing when I was vlogging. I knew that everything was eye candy. I knew that it was like something that was only there temporarily and that I wanted to capture it for the vlog. And then it was like, I need to set this down and I need to enjoy this moment as well.
Interesting.
And it's hard for me to it makes me feel guilty that I'm releasing it, because it's like, am I a prime example of this sort of like digital reproduction, which I am.
Right.
But am I doing it in a negative way or in a positive way?
Yeah.
It's unknown to this day. I think somebody would really have to analyze my brain for that.
Interesting. Yeah. A lot of things these days, I think, are actually occurring almost on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
You and I, we both talked about this in the morning, talking about the difference between millennials and Generation Z. And we were kind of talking about how the development of social media or technology and where it's going, how it'll affect, say, my generation negatively. And what I spoke about was how kids, say at 2 years old, 4 years old, they already know how to go into YouTube and search up, panda eating ice cream or whatever.
And if they don't know how to type, they'll use the audio assistants.
Yeah, so it's like second nature at this point. But if we're talking about experiencing something and experiencing art, one name that definitely comes into mind is James Turrell. And I know you've done a little bit more research about this man, and I wanted you to just speak on that guy's, his, how do you say, portfolio.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to jump over to that just right away. I'll talk about the first thing you said. I think like a lot of people online are talking, and I think it's about accepting it. For the first thing you have to do is like accept, and then like analyze it, and then grow from there, and being like self-aware of where you're at. Well, is that like saying like a dark black thing? Like, am I saying the same thing? Self-aware and knowing where you're at, just being self-aware.
But sort of synonymous.
Yeah. Okay, so, but like, they're saying that the future is going to be more about conversation and less actual experience. So more so playing of the hype around it. So like, it's just all like talking about being there and talking about like your experience, and it's just more self, as opposed to like, this is the art piece in front of me and it's time to experience the art piece. There's going to be more like, so how I felt like when I went to the museum, that's one creation. The photograph of the museum, that's another creation. Like, it's just constantly, we're just going to be constantly making digital reproduction, and we're just obsessing over it because that's just the platforms that, it's like playing with us. Now, to like jump back to James Turrell. So he's an for people that don't know what it is. Actually, to jump back again, I'm just going to continuously jump back. James Turrell makes installation art, which installation art is an artistic genre of three-dimensional works that often are site-specific and designed to transform the perception of a space. So it's a bit more interactive than a picture in a gold picture frame. And what he specializes on, it's primarily concerned with light and space. So he'll make some like a big oval looking thing with a bunch of layers and a bunch of different light that is really like eye candy for photographers. So and like I guess he's just been getting a lot more notoriety. Mm-hmm. Yes, got it right. A lot more notoriety because of Instagram, because it's just shareable. So they're actually like saying like it's a legal like documentation of it, because you're not like allowed to take photos of the museum, but if you can actually search his name, you can search certain art pieces, and there's thousands and thousands of photographs, because it's so easy just to click really quickly and snap that photo and make that piece of art yours.
Yeah, I wonder if he like predicted all that. Especially with his work getting more famous in the mid-1960s. And I read up a little bit about him on his website, jamesturrell.com, and it was stating how he actually had training in perceptual psychology and was really fascinated by this idea of using light in art. And that's sort of what built up his name and his overall, as you said, notoriety over these years, is also just the growth of his art as it aged, and as well as how he aged. So,
I definitely think he's thinking about the strategy of it then.
Yeah.
I think I think anyone that's making it, they have to have thought about some sort of strategy. Like you just can't like just make it by just continuous. Like if I made an art and light museum in my garage and I didn't think about how to distribute it, it would never make it.
Yeah, and I wonder how the shadows work in that effect then. I mean, I've never seen one in person, but
I would love to go.
A person come in there and not affect it?
We're being influenced right now.
Yeah, so
we're gonna go see his museum now.
A quote of his, after speaking about how his medium is purely about light, he says, "My work has no object, no image, and no focus. With no object, no image, and no focus, what are you looking at? You are looking at you looking. What is most important to me is to create an experience of wordless thought." So I think he already, in a sense, by that clarifying what I had presumed, I think he did kind of predict that eventually, with the masses of people having more interest in art, they would find themselves being in that position, consuming it. Maybe he didn't really predict that they would be consuming it and being able to distribute it afterwards, but at least being able to stand there and be more involved.
Yeah. I just thought of something. I thought about how you said, how do you feel like you're being influenced? I went to a museum of, what was it? I'm not going to figure it out today, but I went to a museum. It was a pop-up museum that played on like different foods. And so it had like large like displays of like a hot dog. So like people were taking photos, or like large displays of like French fries. And it's like, it was playing on like no days off or something like that, but it was like no days off for eating. And so I went to the pop-up museum and I spent $40 on my ticket, $40 on Rebecca's ticket, and wait, no. Okay, we went to the free portion of it, and it costed $40 for each of the tickets. So, but there was a big like line, and there was like a big like hype around it, and people were just taking photos. But we went in there and we took like a few photos, and then like it took a little bit longer. But we went there because of the geo tracking and because people were posting photos on Instagram of it, and so like we went there to take fun photos of ourselves because it was like a fun little activity.
Right.
So I have been influenced.
I confess.
Whether it's positive or negative, but hey, it got us out to LA and it got us to go to a fun dinner, and
it's always gonna have its pros and cons.
You mean I guess it's not like ride or die for me.
Right.
Like I'm not like if I didn't go there for the photograph, then cool. You know?
Yeah. So I know you don't want to touch too much upon the film, but speaking about the more conventional things in life, or not conventional things, but say what has already been established in the past, almost this retro look in the past with, say, things such as malls, things such as movie theaters, swap meets, different things that, say, our parents can, have relatability to. There is this opening question of where the direction of film is leading, with all this different consumptual art, or as you say, installation art being at place. I have some evidence from HollywoodReporter.com in which shows a graph that in 2010, 2.2 billion sales, $2.2 billion of sales were contributing or were in contribution from 3D movies, as to now in 2016, in the past, it's only been 1.6 billion. So with something like that of 3D films, what's your take on this?
We are selfish. That's all I hear. We're selfish. We want to be the art. We want to be the center of attention. We, the creators, Apple's playing on us. Us, me.
We think we're the man on fire, huh?
No, Chris D'Elia. I'm the man on fire. No, like I feel like because of that whole virtual reality is just. I mean, everything that's happening to us is just like it's like a mirror. Like how Gary Vee says, Instagram is just a mirror, Facebook is just a mirror. And I feel like if you looked at the giant mirror, which is like, oh man, some dude said that Instagram is like seeing over 1 billion Truman shows watching each other's show. That's some crazy stuff, and it's the reality, because you're always looking forward to like, what's that person doing? Like if you watch like a couple Instagram and you're like, where are they going, or like how are they feeling, like are they okay? I watch Casey Neistat, like I'm always like updated. I watch like just different people, and you always want to get that update of the Truman Show, and there are people out there that want to see your Truman Show. And so like I feel like we really like the fact that we're in the Truman Show and we're okay with it. And in photographs, that's why we're being more, like when the digital reproduction is happening, a lot of times it is with us in front of it. When we go to different trade shows or different conventions, like we went to, what's that convention that
The real estate
Dark
expo.
8 paid for?
Oh, we went to Complex Con.
Yeah, Complex Con. Shout out to Dark 8. He supplied us with a few, it was like 3 tickets to Complex Con. And so we were able to go in there and see all the pop-up booths. And they all played on the digital reproduction with having a person in it. So with having yourself in it, like, I'm going to stand here, like, take a picture of me, because this is so cool. We don't just take that photo. It's not what am I seeing? It's like, I was there. Like, this is me. I am the art. And
Right.
so I feel like in video, it's like the virtual reality is just, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's that I am in there. I am this character. I am that 007, I am whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, and also something that kind of came to mind with myself. Okay, so here's the big thing. Even if we don't happen to know everything, that's sort of the point of the podcast, is being able to elaborate on different subject matters to not only inform you guys, but to inform ourselves. Because although we have different interests and different involvements within the world of art, we're still pretty novice to this, pretty new,
Yeah, I would say I'm very new.
So now going back to my own opinion or my own theory for this, with it going from $2.2 billion in 2010 to 6 years later, having $0.6 billion decrease, I think what has happened is that since we don't have so much development in this world of 3D or 4D going on in a mass production, there isn't that ability to reciprocate it back to reproducing the information being taken in. So say if you see a 3D movie, you can't post that Instagram video and show that it's 3D. So the experience isn't as influential, I would say, as maybe some of James Turrell's work.
Yeah, they said that, well, like the museum that holds, I think it was, dang it, I don't have that. But I don't have the name of the museum that it's in, but it's the one that looks like a huge like oval. The museum actually was talking about like where they feel like where they feel the future of like museum experiences is. And they said that virtual reality is going to be the game, but it's not going to be their own virtual reality experience. It's going to be, I'm going to go in someone else's virtual reality experience. So I'm going to the museum, and I'm going to record with my virtual reality video camera, and I'm going to experience it, and I'm going to eat the food, and I'm going to experience like a a security guard saying, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Like a tour.
Yeah, but of yourself.
Wow.
So they say like in the past 5 years, they've just had to accept the fact that now it's like, okay, you can take the photograph, because like different museums are experiencing even up to 6,000% increase of sales per year, because they're allowing photographs to be taken, and they're actually capitalizing on the fact that you can geo-track and that you can put like a location and someone can say like, I want to be there. Where is that at? Even what's the place that we went to in? Did we go to Chicago together?
No, we did not.
We went to Portland. Okay,
OSHA.
so yeah, we went. It was
OSHA
Jesus.
Museum, right?
OSHA. Was that it?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
I believe so.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was OSHA?
Yeah, it's OSHA.
Okay,
Something science. Yeah.
The Science Museum. But the way we found that was Google, and then we saw different photographs, and so you've been influenced. We saw photographs and we were like, that's where we want to go. We saw a hike and we saw how beautiful it was, and then we went there.
Wait, was it Ozma or?
It was something.
Okay.
I want to say Otis, but that's a college.
We'll figure it out whenever we come back in the next episode. But to conclude this episode of the Landeros Brothers podcast.
Well, I mean, we still got 4 minutes.
All right. Well, I think this will take up the time.
Yeah.
One word: watermarks. So I had this sort of idea or this question at mind of where do we draw the line of ownership, right? So a watermark, as defined, is a faint design made in some paper during manufacture, which is visible when held against the light and typically identifies the maker. Now, this definition is a little bit inaccurate because nowadays, many photographers, many artists are starting to put their own watermarks, because I would say on average with myself, I don't really have a statistic of myself, but I would say I probably do have about 3 to 5 screenshots every single day. So I'm always, taking different information in and keeping it in my photo vault or my photo library. So with that in mind, what do you have to say about the ownership behind, some of this art? Because there are these starving artists that we're talking about in the past that perhaps want to make a career off of art, but maybe their art isn't as experienceable across just from a phone. You have to be there in person, and maybe it's not installation art or anything like that. It is just conventional paint art or markers or whatever it may be.
Well, I think whether we like it or not, someone's going to take the photograph. It's just like any famous person walking down the street, whether they want a photograph taken of them or not. It might be with their iPhone, or it might be with their 5D Mark IV and with a beautiful lens and a lighting setup, and they're going to walk right into it. Like, it's going to happen.
Right.
And I think that like the watermark thing is a bit outdated for me, because I can see a watermark and you could send me that photograph and I'll take the watermark off. Like I can do that with Photoshop. So it's kind of scary like how advanced like creatives are becoming to the fact that like they can apply watermarks and they can also remove watermarks. I think that a great thing would be to actually connect photographs with like you know how you can name it, you can put like metadata, but I think connecting the maps with photographs and with, I mean, they already do that, but I think on Google,
right,
which gets a little scary.
Yeah.
But I think that it should be like, it could be enabled like in a museum, like if it was advertised as every time you take a photo in here, our watermark automatically goes on it with like an invisible like barcode that you can like take a photo of it, or you can like scan it or hold down on it and then it shows you the location, even if it's on a desktop or if it's like printed out. I don't know, like
Yeah.
some like just kind of using what we have and like building more on it and not being so afraid of it. 'Cause-
Yes.
Yes.
So we're talking about Kanye West and about how he had produced these sneakers, and I opened up the question. It's pretty abstract, to be quite honest, because it made me think if video could be plagiarized or made into some form of a knockoff. And you told me that they could take your reel and they can switch it up and do all these different things. So what I'm thinking about also now in the form of video, I can compare it to, say, music or audio, which is individuals such as Tay Keith, such as Metro Boomin, Murda Beats. All these different people have these tags, right? Like Metro Boomin wants some more, you know what I mean? All these different things so that they can place their essentially watermark onto their beat. And there's been tons of situations where beats have been stolen. So I'm just sort of questioning the future of sales or the future of plagiarism.
Well, once the photograph is taken of a piece of art, that is now your art, so you can display that art in a museum as well. Scary.
Can you not sell it then?
I think you can sell it. Yeah, because they have multiple photographs of like there's a photograph of a famous photograph of two ladies painting like what they see in the art museum. So like they're painting like a photograph of like an art museum.
I see.
And then that's a photograph.
Right.
It's a photograph of two people painting a piece of art, and the piece of art is in the background.
Yeah, well...
And that art was like sold for a lot of money because that's the photograph is the art, not the art. So it's just like...
Yeah, I don't have any
It's so weird.
education upon that, but I'm just talking about like the legal battles that have happened within the world of
No, yeah, that's scary.
producing. It's pretty crazy to hear that people have been, cheated out of like almost $500,000, $250,000, and then finally they get the rights to their beat that they should have had in the beginning, and then they barely end up making a little bit money of what the sales were actually making in the first place. So that's just an idea.
Yeah, we have like, I think we went over a minute again, but just to close it out, communication through art. I don't think that we should be as afraid, because then like I think that the sort of like rejection of it is going to happen and that we're not going to be able to learn from it. I think that we should embrace it and be able to apply more positive things, not like Instagram, how it plays on all of our addictive personalities and insecurities. I think that we should do it in a more positive manner and being able to like apply ourselves more to the way that we communicate art and change the platform, because if we reject it, then we're not going to be able to change it.
Good way to put it. Definitely agree.
Good?
Yep.
Done?
Let's get out of here.
And
Drops mic.
peace out, guys. Oh yeah, happy birthday, Valerie.